Well, we know which Green Lantern is Todd McFarlane's favorite. That's right, friends. First we got the animated Green Lantern, now we get comic book Green Lantern, and both times it's John Stewart, and this John Stewart's looking a lot more cool because, of course, he's the comic book version. Now, out of the package, this guy comes with this rubber armor thing, which I guess is like a construct of his own costume, but you can take that off, and I guess I would kind of count this as an accessory. I mean, it looks kind of cool, like translucent, and got little Green Lantern symbols on the side there, and this like I guess it's like he imagined armor when he constructed this, because like there's little lines and stuff that make it look like it's made of plated metal. Well, you know, in his imagination, because that's how Green Lanterns work. They construct stuff around them or for them to hold that, you know, is based on real world stuff. So I guess he was imagining like Iron Man's armor or something when he made this. But it is removable, and underneath is pretty much a traditional Green Lantern costume. So I think it looks a lot better without it, frankly. But I mean, it does look kind of cool. I just kind of want like a standard Green Lantern figure, which thankfully Todd McFarlane has finally given us. And it's John Stewart, which, you know, he's a pretty cool Green Lantern. And the face we got, it is a very young looking John Stewart, but it is a good sculpt on that face. Like, there is no denying that. Yeah, I just think I'd kind of prefer like an older John Stewart. I'd also kind of prefer the hair to have some texture. Like, what is going on with this? Like, it looks like it's just been painted on. It's just so smooth. It doesn't look like hair at all, frankly. Like, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, maybe he's got like a really close, you know, buzz cut kind of thing. Like, I think in the comic art they looked at, like, he had sort of a fade thing going from the sides, but they just, like, didn't even bother trying with that. Like, they just painted the hair. It looks flat. Looks terrible, frankly. I mean, like, there's kind of a texture to it, but I think that's all in the printed paint job. It's not really sculpted at all. Rest of the face looks good, though, and the costume looks pretty good. I like the little lines they added. The Green Lantern symbol is a raised sculpted detail like it should be. And then there's all these like, I mean, there's like normal lines like to break up the design, but then there's like these ridge lines everywhere like these, which are kind of odd, frankly. And then talk about odd, he's got a big old plug on his back, which, you know, I kind of get it. It's like for the accessories, like he comes with, you know, this thing that plugs in the back there, I guess, and, you know, plugs in fine like that. But it's really meant to make this thing sit more flush when the armor, the rubbery armor, is like on there. So I guess the intention is for you to keep this on, but, you know, I'm going to take it off. Although, you know, it doesn't really make much difference, just makes this little bit in the back bulge out a bit more. Same lines we got going on the front or in the back, even the little ridge ones that are, you know, almost like off of a xenomorph shoulder or something. Honestly, this is so ridgy and weird. He's a Green Lantern who's ribbed for her pleasure. Innuendo. The ring on the right hand is sculpted, and you can even sort of make out a little Green Lantern logo symbol, just like, you know, on the chest. It's on the ring there, as it should be. It's just, you know, such a small detail. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but I think you can make it out, and in person, you can tell. It's like super small, but it is there. And then the hands have these little sculpted lines on them that make them look like they're driving gloves. I don't know. It's kind of a weird design choice, but, you know, McFarlane's got to add detail wherever he can, I guess. Another weird choice. This mid part of the torso is a rubber overlay, and I don't really get it. Like, why bother doing a rubber overlay if it's not to hide some articulation? Because this doesn't really hide articulation. It just kind of breaks it up where it wouldn't be broken up before, because, you know, the articulation point is up here, and you already see the seam. So why not just have below that a single sculpted piece made with a cut joint? That'd look a bit better than this, I think. It looks like he's wearing like a skirt for his chest. It's kind of weird to me. Still, everything that's supposed to be sculpted, like, you know, they did it. Like the collar ends of the costume here and the gauntlets on the gloves, tops of the boots, nothing's just a painted line. Everything got a sculpted line instead. In fact, they probably sculpted a bit too much detail. Hey, Todd McFarlane loves to go over kill with the detail here, but I mean, it's not too much. It's not like garish amounts of detail. If we start looking at the paint, he's got green. The lines are clean. I mean, what can you say about the green? I mean, even the paint on the ring's pretty clean. They got the white paint there. It's pretty clean. It's a clean line all the way around. Matches the sculpted line for the most part. I mean, it's like a smidge over right there, but not a big deal. Same thing with the boots. I like the shade of green. It's like dark. They didn't go for like a metallic-y green like some of the old Mattel figures had. And then the paint on the face, pretty good looking. Like, he's even got green eyes, and man, do they look clean. And like his lips are a different color, and yeah, just general good paint. The hair is painted nicely, but I mean, I wish it was sculpted on too, of course. Paint is very clean. I mean, it's kind of plain, honestly. It's black and green, a little bit of white right here. Not too much for the body. Head's clean too. Good looking paint job. Now for the articulation, Green Lantern has a ball joint head, goes so far up, so far down, gets some serious attitude side to side there, and spins all the way around, of course. The shoulders are on those McFarlane ball cup joints that give him sort of, forward and back butterfly motion right there. And they have ratchety ball joints that go up above 90, so that's good. And swivel all the way around, of course. Cuts at the bicep too, and double elbows. They're a little ratchet, not quite as ratchety as the shoulders though. And then it's got those double ball peg, swivel wrists, so they can swivel both ways. You just gotta sort of position them first to get the motion. And, he can get this motion inward very well, but then the other motion, there's a sort of rubber cuff piece on one side of the gauntlet that hinders it in that direction, but, not in any of the other directions. Torso has a diaphragm joint. It can go so far forward, a little bit back, some pretty good side to side, I guess, and it does spin all the way around, and if you're not holding the rubber spins with it too, and I'm pretty sure it's just a single joint in there. I'm not sure if there's like another joint. I mean, seems that way because he does seem to be getting a little bit of extra range if you're not holding that rubber, right? So it might be a double diaphragm joint in there. I'm not too sure, but I don't really like how his chest skirt made of rubber pokes out there, and he's got a bat kind of thing. It's just very weird to me. I think they should have just done a solid sculpt. I don't need rubber parts in my figures, McFarlane. Except on the booty, because this guy's rubber booty lets him bend that leg very far back. It can also get pretty far forward, up above 90 actually, which is very impressive. And he can do the splits only so far. No thigh swivels to speak of, but I will say the rotation in that ball joint at the hip, well, not the ball joint, but the weird C-cup clamp thing that McFarlane does, the rotation there is a lot more giving than most McFarlane figures. Then he's got double knees, of course. Pretty good range on those there. And he's got the double ball ankles, which they can get the lateral movement. You just got to rotate the ball first to do it. And finally, hinged toes. Excellent articulation, as usual. I'd like some traditional thigh swivels, but it's not a big issue on this figure. Here is John Stewart Green Lantern in the packaging. Pretty standard McFarlane DC Multiverse packaging we've come to know and love. It is boxy. It is pretty collector friendly. You just cut a piece of tape at the top there. On the side it says Green Lantern John Stewart DC Rebirth. It's got 3 little lines instead of the usual 2 because which Green Lantern? John Stewart. I guess they're going to specify that with every Green Lantern they release. If we release any more. Who knows? But that's from DC Rebirth, and on the back right here we get a picture of the card that's inside the packaging that has the artwork from Justice League number 6. And on the other side just says Green Lantern John Stewart again. Up at the top get a plus 12 little McFarlane Toys logo and 22 moving parts, or the points of articulation, which I'm beginning to realize Tom McFarlane just puts on, all the DC Multiverse boxes. Anyways, let's open this bad boy up already by cutting some tape there and there. And then he should just slide on out unless, yep, third piece of tape. Maybe not quite as collector friendly as I remember. I mean, what if we open by the bottom? Yeah, let's just open stuff by the bottom because the bottom only has 1 piece of tape. Oh, you are not meant to open this by the bottom. It is very stiff down there. There we go. That's so much easier out the top, except for the fact that you have to cut 3 pieces of tape, of course. Anyways, we get a better look at the card art back there. It's the same stuff we've seen before, all that, comic cover stuff done in blue, with the accessories stuck to it by a blister card, which of course makes you have to ruin the card art. But as for John Stewart himself, dynamically posed in the blister and 1 double sock tie thing around the waist it looks like, and we'll cut that right now. Simple as that to get him out. Not bad with the packaging. I think we could use a bit less tape on the top, though, Todd McFarlane. For accessories, John comes with this stand that all the DC figures come with. This trading card based on the artwork for Justice League number 6, the variant cover to it that was drawn by Jim Lee. That sort of energy armor he came packaged wearing over his shoulders, of course. And then a big old Gatling gun construct and a little ammo backpack for it. Oh, man. So the way John is packaged, it would lead me to believe you are supposed to have this energy armor on his shoulders at all times, so we will try and attach his other accessories with that on. We already looked at that. It's just kind of rubbery, kind of translucent. Looks kind of nice. Of course, has Green Lantern symbol sculpted in there, but this does not, and I don't think the gun does either, which, you know, it's kind of odd, because he consciously put a Green Lantern symbol there with this energy construct, but not with these. No logo anywhere as far as I've seen so far. Now, this little ammo backpack thing, it's not rubbery. It's cast in hard plastic, and so is the gun, of course. But the way it is packaged has the cylinder part up, and it would lead me to believe that that's how you put it on his back. And it does fit that way. But then if we look at that trading card he came with, that leads me to believe that I think the cylinder's in there, and it leads me to believe maybe the cylinder goes in the down position. I don't know too much about green energy miniguns, so I mean, I guess either position could be correct. I'm not really too sure. Still, it's got a lot of sculpted detail. Looks kind of shiny, kind of translucent-y. It looks nice, but I think this bad boy is really the star of the show. It is a hard plastic. It looks pretty cool how it's like got the 6 separate barrels sculpted there, and it's like not, you know, if this were like a Mattel figure from back in the DCUC days, like, it would be solid in the middle. But I think it looks really cool, the fact that it's not solid, and like all 6 barrels are like separate sculpted pieces that come together from these little, I don't know what you call them. It's like rings that hold them together at the end there. Man, if only it came with like some blast effects to shoot out the ends of the barrels too. That'd be really cool. But I guess you're supposed to hold it this way, and it's definitely like a two-handed weapon. I mean, John did come from a military background in the Justice League cartoon. I think that was adapted to the comics, so let's see if we can't get him holding this. Now, his hand is stiff, like very stiff. Like, here I am trying to pry it, and it doesn't want to budge an inch, and, you know, it's kind of an issue when the handle is also a very stiff plastic. Like, I feel like if I force it, this is kind of thin right here, I'm probably going to break it. But, I mean, this is the part with the trigger, and his left hand is in more of a trigger guard position, I guess. I don't know, I guess his right hand is too. I mean, if you look at those two hands, the index finger on the left definitely seems more like in a trigger position, but either one could be a trigger finger hand, I guess. Well, maybe it's the right hand, because I had a bit more luck getting that over the trigger, but now I got to get the left hand onto the guard, and, well, this left hand is not cooperating with me today. It does not want to stretch. It is very firm plastic. So was that, but I mean, at least that was a little more of a grip that worked on the handle there. Okay, yay, you can get him two-handed. It looks pretty cool. I'm not sure which way the backpack goes. I also don't get the point of the backpack being an ammo feed when, like, it's an imaginary construct weapon in the first place. Like, if you're going to imagine a backpack for extra ammo, which I assume is what this is for, and this is for, I mean, right? Like, I don't know what else purpose it would have. Why wouldn't you imagine the belt going from that to feed it? You know, the real answer is probably because, you know, McFarlane didn't want to sculpt all that extra stuff. Because if you look at the actual design on the card, that backpack thing looks much more intricate than what we got here, don't you think? Also, the constructs glow with like a yellowish hue to them in there. It's not like it's the same green as the costume, you notice. Like, the costume's one, and then the constructs are brighter, but here the green matches the costume for the constructs. Which I'm not complaining about, because, you know, it helps the rubber part match the costume better and blend better. But the constructs, I don't know. Would have been nice to get a lantern. Definitely some different kind of effects. This is a very cool construct, though. But this is pretty much all you can do with it, is put it in a two-hand pose like this, and, you know, he has no blast effects or anything, so I don't know how I feel about it. It is nice, but it's disappointing in that we could have gotten a lot more. Scale time. John stands about 7 1/8 inches tall, or 18 centimeters. Here he is with some 6-inch scale superhero figures, Batman and Spider-Man, and a 6-inch Hal Jordan Green Lantern that Mattel put out in their DC Universe Classics line way back in the day, and man, DC Universe Classics may have been great in its day, but I think I'm thankful we do have McFarlane now. Despite all our gripes with McFarlane toys nowadays, I think we can agree they're a bit better than Mattel. And speaking of McFarlane, here he is with McFarlane Superman, Batman, and The Flash. And I gotta say, we're building up a nice little Justice League. Now, if only we could get some Martian Manhunter from McFarlane. That's a lot of M's, but it could happen. So do I ultimately recommend this John Stewart Green Lantern figure from McFarlane Toys, friends? Well, heck yes, absolutely. He is a great-looking Green Lantern figure and a very good-looking John Stewart figure. I mean, the only real gripe you could have about it being John Stewart is that the head looks very young for John Stewart, and it would have been cool to get, like, the bald head that he wore in Justice League Unlimited, where he had, like, the goatee kind of look, you know? I think that would have been pretty cool. Also would have been cool to get something more than just, like, one construct. Like, the backpack's kind of essentially useless when you really think about it, because, you know, Green Lantern wouldn't need to imagine the backpack. You just imagine that the gun has bullets. In fact, why even imagine a gun? You could just imagine a bunch of bullets flying at your enemy. I mean, I guess the whole concept of Green Lantern doesn't make sense when you think about it too long and hard, friends, right? But it's an awesome figure, so I say go out and get it. Until next time, peace out, YouTube.